Hello student, welcome back for the class of MBA semester 4 International Marketing Environment. Today is our lecture number 39, 40 and 41. The topic of our today's discussion is export procedure and documents. So the primary objective of our today's session is help to understand the concept of export procedure and documents required for export as well as import. So the contents of our today's session are export procedure, export document, standardized and aligned pre-shipment documents for exports. So we are going to start with the export procedure. Simultaneously we are also going to discuss about some documents also which are required during the period of exports. Okay, so government of India has been primarily made a mechanism for the export promotion using some effective form of documentation. That documentation and procedure will describe for both the exporter as well as the importer, okay, those who are being involved in these export import businesses. So there are some documents, okay, which are called as commercial documents, okay, and some of them are called as regulatory documents. Okay, that regulatory documents are primarily required for excise clearance, foreign exchange regulations, okay, and these commercial documents specifically that are involved in case of trade related to goods, commodities as well as services. So whatever will be the mechanism that the government of India has been promoted for the export promotion, under which, okay, the different types of export procedure as well as the documents whichever has been communicated from the different authorities which are laid down by the government rules and regulations. So these documents are specific, and these documents are vary from countries to countries, particularly for the export as well as import, okay, from that respective countries. So these documents that we are going to discuss under the export procedure and documents. The first process in case of initiation of the export, particularly from India, okay, we are talking about the Indian businesses specifically, okay, how does we are enabling the export procedure within the India. We are already familiar with the Director General of Foreign Trade, who is the supreme authority in case of India, particularly for the implementation of the export import policies. So the first process that will be initiated, okay, by means of obtaining the IEC number. This IEC number is called as import export registration number, okay. So initially any individual firm, company or any organization, those who are involved in these export import businesses, so they should have to go to the DGFT as well as other licensing authorities, okay, which are prescribed by the in different rules and regulations by the government of India. They need to go to them and obtain this IEC number. So these IEC number can be generally allotted by regional licensing authorities, or either by means of DGFT in case of particular type of commodities only. So this code has been very essential, okay, that will prescribe the for what particular items or commodities or even the type of the exporter, either they are selling they are exchanging the goods or services. So this IC number has been obtained first, either the exporter or the importer. So they should have to go to either DGFT or other regional licensing authorities and go for registration with them. After that, there are some membership the individual exporter has to obtain, okay, from the different authorities which are laid down by the government of India, and these are called as some apex bodies that we were already discussed, some autonomous bodies, okay, in the previous sessions. Okay, so there are the export promotion councils, commodity boards, okay, or export development authorities are there. Even government of India, they were initiated the various chamber of commerce productivity council under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The exporter has to make take the membership as well as registration with these authorities. These authorities will provide them some sort of assistance and services in respect of the export businesses. Okay, so this membership of these bodies, okay, they will offer not only the membership and registration, but also they will provide them the certificate of origin. Certificate of origin is one of the very important document, okay, which are required in case of exports, from which particular country the production belongs. So that is a very essential document in case of export that should be obtained from these different authorities from time to time. As well as the exporter has to make the registration under the ITPO. Okay, this ITPO has been primarily arranging the different forms of activities by means of arranging the national international exhibitions in the foreign countries. Okay, and there are some other regulatory bodies, okay, wherever the for exchange foreign exchange clearance, excise, okay, or custom, wherever they should have to make some necessary registration and complete the formalities. So this is the second most important procedure in case of export. Then the third procedure would be called as the registration with EPC and FIEO. Already that we talk about the registration with EPC. Okay, the primary responsibility of implementation of these foreign trade policies (FTP) will be under the control of that FIEO. Okay, so they should have to go for one of the process that is called as RCMC. RCMC is nothing but the registration cum membership certificate that they need to obtain from the FIEO. Okay, whatever has been explained according to the exim policies. Okay, the exporter may obtain this RCMC either from EPC, Export Promotion Council, okay, or any other authorities whichever has been prescribed by the FIEO. Okay, however, if the export product is not covered by the EPC, RCMC in respect thereof may be issued by regional licensing authorities. Okay, if some items which are not covered under the EPC, okay, that particular license can be obtained from other regional licensing authorities. Say for example, in case of iron ore, okay, or any other item, okay, such kind of membership certificate can be directly obtained from the DGFT offices. Registration with the sales tax authorities. Now the sales tax has been abolished in the by the government of India. Okay, right now they were implemented the GST mechanism. So under the GST mechanism, okay, the exporter has to go for the registration and make some necessary formalities over there, okay, for paying the taxes to the government. Okay, so even in case of government, okay, there are some other VAT taxes should be there that should be related with the states. So state registration as well as the central government registration are the basic formalities that they need to conduct. Now from this exactly the inquiry we are going to start the different documents that are required in case of export. Okay, so we are going to discuss these documents one by one. Okay, so we are talking about the export businesses specifically, wherever, okay, how to initiate the export uh, businesses. Okay, After completing the basic formalities that we were discussed earlier, okay, in case of that export procedure, that time the exporter has been ready, okay, particularly for the exports with respect to any particular goods or services. Now, how to initiate the export businesses, okay, or even the import businesses, okay. First of all, the exporter, they will receive the inquiry from the importer, okay. Importer is nothing but the buyer from the international country or foreign country, and the exporter is nothing but the seller, okay, from the particularly the home country, okay. So uh, once they will receive, once the exporter receives the inquiry, okay, thereafter there is an offer will be made. That offer would be also called as an the export quotation, okay, which will specifies the information that are being covered by the inquiry. So whatever has been asked in the inquiry by the importer, whichever has been specified in the offer. So when we are talking about this inquiry, okay, so any kind of prospective importer, okay, they will mention that what particular items or commodities that they need to be imported within their countries. So that will they will inform, okay, to the exporter, okay, in the form of inquiry letter. So that inquiry letter prescribe the some detailed information related to whatever type of goods are required to them, their description, catalog number, okay, grades, sizes, weight, and other distinguishing feature, along with time and mode of delivery, okay, or transportation, okay, that should be required in the inquiry letter, or which should be mentioned by the importer. On the similar ground, okay, once the this inquiry letter has been received by the exporter, okay, the exporter will prepare offer, okay, and they will send to the uh, importer in the foreign country. Here, by means of inquiry, the importer would likely to know about the financial position of the exporter, what particular kind of items that they will be generally exported, their turnover, their basic inquiries are being conducted. Some basic questions has been asked related to the terms of payment and mode of delivery of that particular product within their country or not, okay. So as soon as the exporter receives that business inquiry, okay, they will prepare an offer, okay. That offer letter is called as the export quotations also. And once they will receive this inquiry, okay, they should have to prepare that offer letter, okay. So offer letter is nothing but the first form of literature that the exporter will prepare according to the requirement of the importer, okay. So that offer letter will also contain the similar form of information which are being required by the importer, okay. So that will contains some information related to the whatever kind of products or goods which are being supplied, their quality value, including freight charges, insurance, and other charges, as well as mode of payment and conditions of sale, even the method of delivery of the product in the prospective country. If it is necessary to send the samples, okay, with respect to that particular product or commodities, so the exporter should have to follow some government rules and regulations so as to send the samples in accordance with the government rules and regulation to the importer. So the exporter will prepare that offer, okay, or the export quotation, and they should have to send that particular offer to the importer, okay. So along with that, okay, there are some other related information would be there, okay, that should be submitted along with this offer letter. So often the buyers open letter of credit on the basis of the pro forma invoice. It is therefore necessary to take the approximate freight charges on the higher side than the lower. Some sort of information can be also obtained by the exporter, okay, by means of using the buyer's letter of credit, okay. So that should be also requested by the exporter once the offer letter has been sent to the importer. Now once the importer receives the offer letter from the exporter, then there will be a confirmation of order, okay. So that the importer will confirm that particular offer whichever has been sent by the exporter uh, to the to the importer, okay. So they will carry out some sort of negotiation in between them, okay, and complete some basic formalities. Then after that, okay, the importer will confirm the order, and that order will be sent by means of his acceptance. So whatever the international buyer would be there, okay, that international buyer or importer will confirm the confirm their offer, okay, and send the confirmation of order by sending their acceptance, okay, in case of pro forma invoice, okay. So the that confirmation of order is nothing but the pro forma invoice, okay, that should be sent in triplicate to the buyer, okay. So after accepting the offer by the importer, thereafter the the exporter, okay, will send the pro forma invoice, okay. The pro forma invoice should be sent in triplicates, okay. So the buyer is asked to return the two copies duly signed by him, okay. So after signing the two copies of that pro forma invoice, the importer should have to send the two copies to the exporter. The exporter should again send one copy to the importer with the exporter's signature to confirm the acceptance of order. Once they will receive the confirmation of order, okay, that is called as the pro forma invoice. After signing by the importer as well as the exporter, okay, once they will receive the exporter will also sign it. Then that pro forma invoice will be called as simply invoice, okay. So it is nothing but a contract between the exporter as well as the importer. So whatever items, goods or services that they are exchanging from one country to another country, okay. So that confirmation of order will specify all the necessary information related to the goods or commodities which are being exchanged from home country to the host country. The detailed information will cover with respect to goods, their quality, quantity, price, period of delivery, shipment, packing and marking, terms of payment, license, insurance, documentary requirements. All these information can be mentioned in the confirmation order. After that, if the exporter has already obtained the export license, in that case they will go to the another step for obtaining the necessary finance from the financial institution. In case the exporter should have to obtain some necessary license with respect to any particular commodities or items, they should have to approach to the concerning authorities which are being laid down by the government of India, okay, and ask for the export license for that particular commodities or goods. List there are some items, okay, whichever has been banned, okay, which cannot be exported from the India. Their list has been regularly publicized from the different authorities or other concerning departments of the government of India. So proper permission has been made through the government of India, okay, and ask for the export of that particular goods or commodities, okay. Particularly this export license has been obtained, okay, either it should be obtained earlier In case of banned list, okay, they should have to approach to these concerned authorities and ask for the export license on submitting the necessary documents. Against the export order, okay, the exporter will ask to any other financial institution or banking institution for finance, particularly for pre-shipment financial assistance. So that depends on the financial position of the exporter. If the exporter, okay, they would expect to get the necessary finance from any financial institution or banking institution, okay, they should have to go to this financial institution and ask for the export finance. Okay, so export finance can be obtained for varieties of reason, either pre-shipment period, post-shipment period, during the period of exports also. Okay, so necessary financial assistance will be provided by these financial institutions. So then against the production, against the export order, okay, the exporter has initiated the process of production and procurement of goods or services that are required. So the exporter should try to arrange the product, okay, by means of using their vendors, okay, by means of either they will manufacture themselves, so they will take the necessary steps for the production or procurement of goods. Okay, so that whatever the items that they need to be exported, so they will arrange each and everything with respect to it and try to get exported accordingly to the importer. Here they plan their production activity in such a way, okay, there will not be any kind of flaws or problems in the production processes, and they can complete their export order very timely, okay, according to the requirement of the importer. Okay, so as per the contract, okay, whichever he has been specified under the contract, that is called as the final invoice, or the contract in between the exporter as well as the importer, okay, the export order will be dispatched, okay, by means of using booking the cargo or shipment, okay, by means of the concerning shipping authorities from the government of India. The first step in case of the export would be what, buying some shipping space at the dock. Okay, so once the exporter will receive the export order from the importer, okay, they will initiate their production process, and immediately they tries to go to the some shipping companies and tries to book the shipping space, okay, so as to load and unload the items, okay, or goods or commodities over there near the dock. Okay, so these shipping companies, okay, they have been allotted some shipping space over there, and that shipping space can be obtained on the rent to the exporter. Okay, so once they will confirm the export order, the exporter should have to contact to the shipping companies. Okay, these shipping companies are generally making the selling of that particular port to which goods have been sent and book the required shipping space. So it is quite necessary to book the shipping space over there, okay, prior to commit the export order. So all necessary documentation will be completed by the exporter, okay, and the exporter will get the daily shipping intelligence from the shipping companies, so that shipping companies will provide the information related to from which particular source to the destination the items, what particular items are going, okay, in that particular ship, okay, or what are the different way, okay, by means of which the exporter can exchange this item, okay, from this port to the another port, okay, from home country to the host country. So these shipping companies are being assisted by some particular sort of agent. That agents are called as freight forward agents. Okay, or these are called as either called as freight forward agent or simply called as clearing and forwarding agents. So these clearing and forwarding agents are working on the commission, okay, under the shipping companies, and these clearing and forwarding agent will provide information to the exporter. So which particular items that they need to send, okay, from one country to another country, okay, there will be some different mechanism in another country, and what sort of documents are being essential within their trade block, okay, that will be vary from trade block to trade block, and or from region to region, or from country to country even also, okay. Particularly in India, okay, we are following these mechanisms, okay. So this clearing and forwarding agent will work for the exporter, and they will provide some sort of information to the exporter. So whatever information has been required by the exporter, all these information can be provided to the exporter, so that they can make this product available at the shipping space, and they will complete all the necessary formalities with respect to the export of goods as well as services which are being required, okay, by the importer. So after booking the shipping space, okay, the goods or other commodities could be made available at the shipping space for necessary packaging, okay. The other official will inspect that particular items or commodities. So some other stages would be also need to be followed. Let us see ahead. Now when we are talking about this shipping space, okay, how to obtain the shipping space, okay, that shipping space would be obtained by submitting the necessary document by the exporter. So they should have to make an application, okay, to the freight brokers would be there. So this freight broker, again, it will be called as the clearing and forwarding agents, okay, which are directly working under the shipping companies, okay, on the commission basis, okay. They will take the commission from shipping company also, as well as from the exporter. So then there will be a two kind of acceptance with the when the items need to be exported, okay. So there will be two types of acceptance would be there. The first one is called as shipping advice, and the second one is called as shipping order, okay. Now this clearing and forwarding agent, okay, they will provide all the related information. So the shipping company, on behalf of that particular clearing and forwarding agent, so they will provide two types of acceptance, whether they will accept the goods or services, okay, on their shipping space or not. So they will be allowed to make the product available at the shipping space. So the first will be called as shipping advice, okay. This shipping advice, they will provide the shipping advice first of all, okay. In that case, the shipping companies would not be bound to accept the cargo, okay. So whatever items would be exported, okay, they are just providing the advice over here. How does that they are going to conduct the trade, that they are specifying in the shipping advice, okay. And it is just an intimation to the party that goods will be accepted on the ship, but they may or may not be accepted, okay, so that they can make the exchange of that particular goods or services from their shipping company. So it is just the preliminary procedure whether to accept that particular goods or services on the shipping space, okay. Then the another kind of acceptance would be called as shipping order, okay. The exporter, once the exporter will receive the this shipping order, then and then only the shipping company will be liable to accept that particular goods or commodities on the shipping space. And finally, okay, after inspecting the necessary quality by means of using the pre-shipment inspection, okay, then they will load that particular item on the vessel or ship, okay. So shipping order will be issued, okay. The shipping company will be binds itself to accept the cargo, and on its failure, it can be sued for loss or damage. Okay, so if suppose there will be a damage by the shipping company itself in case of handling the cargo not appropriately, okay, then the exporter can sue that particular shipping company and ask for the loss of damage. Okay, so these two types of acceptance would be there, either shipping advice or shipping order would be there. The shipping order is an instruction by the shipping company to the commanding officer of the ship that the goods from the exporter as per the details may be should be received on the board. So this is nothing but the instruction to the commanding officer of the ship whenever it has been get exported. Okay, so that commanding officer will came to know that what particular goods has been exported, okay, from which exporter. Original is given to the exporter and a copy has been sent to the commanding officer of the ship. Okay, so there will be double copies of that shipping order has been prepared. Then after that there will be a packing of items or commodities or goods. Okay, uh, along with packing, okay, there will be a necessary marking of that particular goods according to the standards. So once these goods has been received, okay, they need to be packed, okay, by means of effective packaging as well as necessary marking of that particular items. So there are some government authorities, say for example Bureau of Indian Standards, okay, as well as British Standard Packing Code, okay, published by the British Standard Institution, Exporters Encyclopedia published in the USA. Okay, there are some packing instructions which are being given from country to country. So how does that packing has been made appropriately in the form of consignments, okay, that should be followed by the exporter. Okay, so all these packing instructions has been given by the exporter once they are being going to be exported from the exporter. After that there is a necessary marking, so packing and marking goes together. Okay, here I have been making a separate slide for marking also. So shipping okay, that marking would be very much necessary for the easy identification, okay, so that they can came to know that who is the exporter and the importer and what particular items has been exported from that from the exporter to the importer. Okay, so marking should include the shipping mark of the consignee, the port of destination, measurement and country of origin and other matters buyer specified. So this information has been specified by means of using the effective marking on the complete package whichever has been exported by the exporter. There are some other authorities are also there, some International Cargo Handling Corporation Association, okay, they will provide some necessary information so that how does they should have to make the effective packaging and marking. So okay, so there are some items, say for example glassware product, okay, or some medicines are being there. Okay, so effective packaging and marking would be there, so handle with care, glass inside, all these instructions has been there. Okay, so port of destination, source and port of destination, their measurement, okay, their weight, okay, along with some country of origin, whichever country that the production belongs, all this information has been provided by means of using this marking. There are some other authorities, International Trade Forum, okay, they were also set some rules for good marking procedure over there that they need to be followed by the exporters. Then there are some other documents, okay, whichever has been required for quality control and pre-shipment inspection. So we will already talk about that one of the law whichever has been discussed in the FTP, okay, that is called as Export Quality Control and Pre-Shipment Inspection Act 1963. So there will be a compulsory quality control and pre-shipment inspection once the exportable items, goods or commodities that are available on the shipping space. Okay, or these authorities they can directly go to the factory premises of the exporter and they can inspect whatever particular items, goods or commodities whichever has been exporting by the exporter. Okay, and they can inspect directly to the factory premises. Even there are some 100% export oriented units, either they can voluntarily go for the certification with respect to the quality control and pre-shipment inspection. Okay, in that case, okay, there will be no necessity, okay, of inspecting the goods or services once the item has been received at the shipping space. So there will be some self certification schemes, okay, by whichever has been notified by the government of India, they need to follow. So it is one of the very important document, okay, that should be primarily ensured, okay, that must be of desired quality whichever item has been exported from the government of India's ports. Some other authorities are also notified by the government of India whichever has been specified, particularly one of the essential procedure and documents which are being followed by the exporters also. So as a matter of that foreign trade policy, okay, all exporters has to go for the necessary clearances. So there will be excise clearances as well as custom clearances would be there. So government has granted the excise duty exemption for export products. So there are some different sort of incentives the government of India has been made for the export promotion. So which particular item or commodities which are being exempted from the excise duty, okay, so these necessary clearance should have been made by the exporter. So all excisable goods, okay, they whichever has been exported, okay, they should have to pay the excise duty, and they will also claim for the rebate of the excise duty or in bond. So there will be two types of schemes, okay, by the government of India whichever has been exported, okay, to grant some excise duty exemption. So in case of export under the claim for refund of the excise duty, so duty will be paid first by the exporter, and they can make the necessary application for the refund of that particular excise duty. Now in case of bond, okay, goods are allowed to be exported without without making the payment of the duty on the execution of the bond. Okay, so already some necessary payment has been made, okay, in the form of bond, okay, by the exporter. So there is no need to pay the excise duties, okay. So in that case, okay, with sufficient surety and security in the prescribed bond, under such condition the controller of excise, central excise, may be approved for some at least the equivalent of the duty chargeable on the goods. So whether it is need to be paid the excise duties or not, okay, so two types of duty exemptions would be there, okay. So either they should have to go for refund, okay, or whether previously the exporter has obtained that particular bond, okay. So the central excise authorities will verify all these things, and they can make the excise clearance certificate made available. They will make the excise clearance certificate to the exporter, made available to the exporter. There are some custom formalities. That custom formalities should also prepared by the exporter by going to the custom authorities, okay, and go to obtain that custom clearance, okay, after preparing that much amount of document and submitting these documents while during the process of export, okay. The exporter should also has to obtain the some custom clearances, okay, and primarily the clearing and forwarding agents are working, whoever working on the commission basis. So they will complete all these formalities on behalf of the exporter, okay, after preparing these important documents and make these documents available to the custom formalities, okay. The custom authorities will verify all these documents, okay, and they will make this custom clearance very appropriately after verifying these documents. So which particular documents are being required particularly for custom formalities are: the first one is called as shipping bill, declaration regarding the truth or statement made in the shipping bill; invoice, okay, maybe it is called as a contract or pro forma invoice in certain cases, okay, or confirmation of order; GR form would be there, Okay, there are some different forms and documents would be there. Okay, export license whenever required, quality control and pre-inspection certificate. Okay, original contract whenever possible, whenever available, correspondent lending to contract, contract registration certificate, letter of credit, packing list, AR4 form. Okay, and any other document whichever has been required by the custom authorities. So all these documents need to be submitted by clearing and forwarding agent to the custom authorities. Then after verifying these documents, the custom authorities will issue the custom clearance certificate. Then there are some other formalities, and these other formalities are called as exchange control formalities. Now these exchange control formalities are directly under the control of the RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So, as well as there are some other authorities that is called as the collector of the customs. Okay, so both these authorities are being verified, okay, whether the trade has been conducted properly or not. Okay, so on verifying the items, okay, the exchange clearance certificate has been prepared, okay, by these the exchange foreign exchange authorities. There are some different rules, regulations and acts which are being related with the exchange control regulations, and that need to be followed, whichever has been recommended by the government of India, specifically the RBI. So they will identify, negotiate all the shipping documents, including relating to the sale of consignment basis through the authorized dealer, receive payment on approved method, and exporters are required to realize the foreign exchange proceeds for export within the specified period. So how does the trade has been going to be conduct? So these exchange control formalities, that they exchange control authorities, they will check all these things. Okay, who is the exporter, who is the importer, and what kind of trade has been conducted in between these two parties. Okay, so they will verifying all the necessary documents whichever has been specified by the RBI. So upon verifying the necessary documents of the documents by the government of India, okay, exchange control authorities, okay, they will notify the exporters, okay, to conduct that particular trade. Particularly here, the letter of credit, the bill of exchange has been identified, and other related negotiable documents that are being primarily verified with respect to both the parties. Then the next and very important part of export import procedure would be called as what? Insurance. That insurance would be obtained in the form of marine insurance. Okay, so all exportable items whichever need to be insured uh, as per the information, or as per the recommendations and rules whichever has been informed by the government of India. So the government has made some authorities, okay, so as to obtain the insurance or that marine insurance. So there will be some authorities that is called as General Insurance Corporation of India, that is called as GIC. Okay, under that GIC there are four organizations. The first one is called as National Insurance Company, New India Assurance Company, the Oriental Fire and General Insurance Company, and last would be United India Fire and General Insurance Company. So these four companies are being directed to follow the rules and regulations so as to provide some sort of insurance. Okay, that insurance will be even called as the marine insurance. Okay, in case of maritime perils, okay, if there is a form of damage or loss to the exporter. Okay, so these insurance policies, okay, or certificate need to be obtained from these authorities, okay, whichever has been specified by the General Insurance Corporation of India and other related subsidiary organizations. So the exporter has to pay the premium to these exportable items, and which particular items has to be exported, okay, for which they need to obtain that necessary insurance from these authorities. Then here we are talking about some marine insurance, okay. So government of India has already formulated one of the very important public sector undertaking, that is called as Export Credit Corporation of India. They will be directed according to the Marine Insurance Act 1963, okay. So in case of any maritime perils, okay, loss or damage due to various circumstances during the to and fro, okay, by means of using the ships, cargo or vessels, okay, these exporters has to be get protected by means of using their commercial and political risk, okay, or even credit sales and export financing related risk, whichever has been protected under this marine insurance. And this marine insurance has been obtained from the particular authorities. So there will be 4 organizations in India from which they need to obtain that marine insurance. Marine insurance is nothing but a contract of the marine insurance organization or any insurance organization whichever has been specified by the government of India and the exporter, whoever has been going to export any particular items or commodities. So it is nothing but an agreement or contract whereby the insurer undertakes to indemnify the assurance assured in a manner and extent thereby agreed against marine losses, that is to say loss incidental to the marine adventure, okay. There are some technical terms over here, okay. A contract of marine insurance may be by its express terms or the uses of trade be extended so as to protect the assurance against losses or inland water or land risk whichever has been incidental to sea voyage. So whatever form of losses or damages, okay, in case of journey or voyage, okay, during the period of export, whichever has been covered under this marine insurance, okay, and the different policies whichever has been provided from the 4 different organizations of the government of India, okay. So this marine insurance has been obtained from these appropriate authorities. There are different types of marine perils are there, okay. That marine perils are nothing but the different sort of losses or damages, okay, wherever the whichever particular exported items whichever has been exported from one country to another country. So government has been notified the ECGC which particular maritime perils has been specified, okay, and these insurance companies, okay, there is no any private company those who can go for providing the marine insurance to the exporter and importer in India, okay. So there will be perils of sea, okay, that will called as the accidents or casualties of sea, okay. Say for example stranding, foundering, collision of contract, heavy weather damage, okay, that will be covered under the perils of sea. Any sort of fire, okay, damage caused by smoke or heat of fire, damage by water, okay, fire resulting from lightning, spontaneous combustion, explosion, negligence of the master or crew. So whoever the official, those who are on the ship, okay, if it is the negligence of that master, okay, or crew members, okay, that will be also covered under the maritime perils. Men of war or enemies, so losses or damage that should be caused by any kind of hostile act of the enemy, okay. So there will be any kind of circumstances that will happen in the sea, okay, even any kind of storms, okay, that should be also covered, okay. Even cyclones, damages, loss or loss which are being caused due to cyclones which are being also covered. Pirates, rovers and thieves, okay, loss or damage which can be caused due to there are some pirates, okay, of the sea, okay, some rovers or thieves would be there, okay. Either they can make an attack on the ship, okay, or they can confiscate the item, even some In many cases it was be identified that ship has been completely confiscated and the crew members has been killed by them. There are some other maritime perils would be there. Okay, I have been covered few over here: jettisons, letters of marque and countermart, surprisals, okay, taking at the sea, capture at the sea, and bartering would be there. Some different sort of losses and damages which were happen in the sea, okay, which can be covered under the maritime perils under the um, Marine Insurance Act. Okay, through ECGC the exporter can be protected. So there are different marine insurance policies are there, okay, whichever has been covered under the Marine Insurance Act. The first policy will be called as time policy. Under this policy the subject is insured for the particular period of time, okay, means exporter has been protected for particular amount of time, okay. Say for example, whenever the item has been exported, okay, from particular date to particular date only. Voyage policy, this is called as the journey policy, okay. This policy will cover that the subject is nothing but the exporter, okay, that the exporter will be covered from one place to another, from source to the destination, okay, and the time whichever has been required particularly during the period of export, even that is called as a mixed policy, okay. This policy will cover both the time as well as the voyage. This policy is called as construction policy or building risk policy, okay. It insures the vessels while it is being built, okay, irrespective of the length of time taken, okay. This will cover the length of time, okay, that should be covered under the construction policy or building risk. Sometimes many of the shipping companies that they are constructing the ship, and whenever they are being constructing there will be there are lots of risks, whether sometimes there will be that the ship will collapse prior to get that ship into a sea. So there will be appropriate handling of that particular sea or that big vessels to get entered into the sea. Even floating policy would be there. It is an ordinary cargo policy expressed in general terms to cover the number of shipment to be declared. So how many consignments or items that they need to be exported by the exporter, okay. Some of the exporters either they can obtain the time policy, voyage policy, or they will go for that mixed policy also, okay. In certain cases they will also go for the floating policies. That floating policy would be primarily useful, okay, in case of ordinary cargo policy would be there, okay. So any particular item whichever has been exported, that they would be covered under these different marine insurance policies. After that there are some specific form of documents that are required particularly in pre-shipment period. So these documents are called as standardized and aligned pre-shipment documents that are required particularly for the period of export. So there are particularly two types of documents. The first one is called as commercial documents. These commercial documents are very essential documents which are being classified into two types. So there are total 16 documents are there in the commercial document. 8 documents are principal export documents and 8 documents are auxiliary documents are there, and other 16 documents are there which are called as regulatory document. These are primarily required to make the various types of clearances by the different authorities from the government of India. The first one is called as commercial document, okay. These commercial documents are called as the standardized documents, okay, and that are being primarily used by customs of trade, okay. That will specify, okay, what particular items has been exported from one country to another country, okay. That will be primarily held responsible for effecting the physical transfer of goods and their title from the exporter to the importer and realization of export sales proceeds. So as to initiate the export, okay, these documents are very essential. So there are total 16 commercial documents are there. Okay, so 14 documents are very essential documents are there. Other two, shipping order and bill of exchange, which are not directly related with the commercial documents, so these are called as the aligned documents. Okay, this shipping order and bill of exchange, these are called as the aligned documentation system, because they will vary from different data elements and having some different form of information in that particular documents. So these commercial documents are called as two types. Okay, principal export documents and auxiliary documents. So let us see these documents further. Now there are principal export documents. So 8 documents are listed over there. Okay, these are called as principal export documents. These are very essential: commercial invoice, packing list, bill of lading. Okay, uh, combined transport documents, certificate of inspection and quality control, insurance certificate or policy, certificate of origin, and bill of exchange and shipment advice. So these documents are called as principal export documents, which are very essential documents. The other forms of documents are called as auxiliary documents. The other 8, both are commercial documents. This will include the pro forma invoice, okay, intimation of inspection, shipping instruction, insurance declaration, shipping order, mate receipt, application of certificate of origin. If the certification is not available, then application can be permitted. Okay, letter to the bank for collection and negotiation of the documents. So these documents are being also called as the essential commercial documents. So these 8 documents are also called as the auxiliary documents. Then there will be called as an regulatory documents. These regulatory documents are very essential to make the compliance according to the government authorities, whichever rule has been specified by the government of India. So this will include the export inspections, foreign exchange regulation, export trade control, and custom formalities would be there. So there will be these essential regulatory documents would be there. So on an average, there are 9 regulatory documents which are associated with pre-shipment stage. So during the pre-shipment stage, okay, these documents are very essential, and other items would be get provided during the process of clearance. Okay, by the authorities. Okay, and that need to be produced by the exporter. So there are these nine regulatory documents are: the first one is called as Gate Pass 1 and Gate Pass 2. Okay, whichever has been specified by the central authority, central excise authorities. AR4 and AR4A form. Okay, again it has been specified by the central excise authorities. Shipping bill or bill of export. Okay, prescribed by again the central excise authorities. Okay, there would be some different types of shipping bill would be there. If any company that those who will be made and the duty exemption, excise duty exemption, there will be export of goods, export of duty free goods, export of duty able goods, and export of goods under the claim for any kind of duty drawback. So there will be different schemes to get obtained the excise duty exemptions. So there are different types of shipping bill would be there. Export application or dock challan would be there. Okay, prescribed by the Port Trust of India. So under the Port Trust of India, different shipping companies, okay, they were buying that shipping space from which the items has been loaded, okay, on the ships or the vessel. Even at airport, okay, there is a cargo hub would be there. Okay, so export application or dock challan are very essential. Receipt of payment of port charges. So whether the port charges has been paid by the exporter or not, okay, that should be also obtained. Vehicle ticket would be there. Okay, that vehicle ticket is a very important document. Like we are getting a ticket in case of any kind of transportation, so simultaneously we need to book a vessel over here. or ship, okay, or any kind of cargo, so for which we should have to take the vehicle ticket. Exchange control declaration prescribed by the RBI using some GR form or PP form would be there, that should be followed by the Reserve Bank of India. Freight payment certificate, whether the all necessary freight or charges has been paid, okay, upon making the payment, these items can be loaded on the ships. Insurance payment, insurance premium payment certificate, so these regulatory documents are there, so under which the government of India will ensure that, okay, all necessary mechanism, okay, for export has been followed by the exporters so as to initiate the export activity. So that's all for our today's sessions. Thank you very much.